Hello, my name's Adam Ramsey, and I'm here to teach you about Understanding by Design, or UBD, and the UBD template. This is the Understanding by Design template, Stage 1. Stage 1 is where you list your desired results for your unit. These results are what you hope your students have learned once they reach the end of your unit. While this might seem like a linear path to planning a unit, UBD is not required to be completed sequentially. It's important to use UBD in a way that is most fitting to how you normally work. However, starting with the end in mind will help keep your unit plans on track, with the focus and energy of the unit pointing toward transfer and understandings that students will take with them outside of the classroom into their daily lives. First, we will start with the course and unit summary. The course and unit summary is the basic information about the course. What is the class subject? What grade level are you teaching? Is this a university, high school, or elementary school? These are the pieces of information that help to provide the context for your unit, which will affect how you arrange your unit. For example, teaching unit on poetry will look different if the class is entirely online compared to face-to-face. Here you will see boxes asking for which district, university, organization you're a part of, the type of school. It'll even ask for a textbook for the class. And when you get into the unit summary, it'll ask for a title of the unit, a unit time frame, and how it's delivered. For example, face-to-face, blended, online, or other. Once you've completed all of these boxes, it will then be time to move on to the unit summary, including the unit overview and the big idea of the unit. This is where you'll explain what the unit actually is. For the unit overview, in this box, you're just going to provide a simple overview of the unit using plain, non-teacherly language. You'll describe what your unit will cover. What is it about? What will the unit involve? Then you'll move on to the big idea of the unit. This is the why of the unit. The big idea is where all the acquisition and meaning-making goals are headed toward. Again, using simple language, distill your unit overview into a singular statement. It is here where all the different parts of the unit come together for a single purpose. If there isn't a clear purpose for why your students are covering this unit, then most likely the unit will fade into the background of their knowledge, eventually to be forgotten. So make it as clear and as simple as possible. So, once you fill that in, then it will be time to move on to the box that's titled Professional Organizations for Content. In order to ensure that we are teaching our students knowledge and skills that are required by state regulations or that will translate into the marketplace, we must aim to include as many standards or competencies as necessary into our lessons. These standards are created by organizations to ensure that education between different schools and universities is similar. These organizations differ based on the subject or will be included in Common Core. In this box, here you will specify which organization you have taken your standards from, and then you will provide a URL to their website and to their list of standards. Now we'll talk a little bit more about standards. Standards are the rules by which we build our units. If we are teaching unit based on a particular subject and our unit does not complete some of these standards, then our unit will not serve a purpose to our students. Using the set of standards taken from the organizations that we previously listed, choose a number of standards that your unit will address. You'll notice boxes for codes on the left-hand side. Each standard or competency will have a number or a code associated with it. When you select your standards or competencies that will be covered by your unit, you can enter the code in the box on the left-hand side, then write out the competency in the boxes on the right. Now, once you've selected all of your standards, it's time to start creating your goals for the unit. So there are 3 different types of goals that are covered in the template. First, we'll start with transfer goals. When the students that we teach end up leaving our classroom with the intention of taking their learning to the marketplace, they need to be able to apply their learning to new and different situations. Most likely, the problems they encounter on the job site will not replicate the exercises undergone in the classroom. Additionally, our students will not have an instructor or classmates to lean on during these times. This is where transfer goals come into play. As educators, our foremost goal should be to grant our students the ability to independently apply their learning in these new and different situations. This is called transfer. In this section, you will compile a list of transfer goals. These goals should be what you intend your students to be able to do on their own without the aid of an instructor or classmate on their own in a totally new situation. This could be like drawing original conclusions from an unfamiliar text. Each goal should be connected to a standard or competency you mentioned previously in the template. These can be found in the boxes on the right. This is where you will input the standard or competency code that connects to your individual transfer goal. The boxes on the left determine the new code for the transfer goal that you're creating. And then here in the middle is where you're going to include the specific text of what the goal is. So if your goal is to have them, as mentioned before, draw original conclusions from an unfamiliar text and create your own interpretation, then that is what you'll put here in the middle. The next goals that we'll cover will be meaning goals. Meaning making is when students are able to connect their knowledge and skills to personal experiences. It's when students are able to distinguish patterns. This pattern recognition is what enables students to transfer their skills to new and different situations on their own without the aid of an instructor. As you'll see, there are 2 different kinds of meaning-making goals. First, we'll have essential questions. These are questions that are meant to promote understanding. Essential questions do not have black and white answers. Instead, they are meant to be grappled with throughout the unit and referred to repeatedly. They are meant to inspire discussion and debate. It can be tempting to ask leading questions to bring the students to the conclusion that you want them to arrive at, but these are not considered essential questions. These kinds of questions only help to promote factual knowledge. These essential questions should connect again to a specific standard or competency. Like with the transfer goals before, place the competency codes here on the right side of the page, then fill in the box in the middle with your question. Remember, to be an essential question, they must be in the form of a question. Next, we have understandings. Understanding is not just knowing the facts or being able to recite knowledge learned in class. These are the things that students must know in order to be able to participate in the discussions that essential questions should spark. Understandings are not just the things to be learned. They are to be pondered and considered. They are not something that can be just learned from a lecture. Usually these understandings come from reflecting on the students' experiences. As students develop these understandings, they begin to see patterns and are able to distinguish patterns in new situations that line up with past experiences. This is the kind of deep learning that will last far beyond your brief time with them. and the kind of learning that will promote transfer from the classroom into their daily lives. Like with the previous transfer goals and essential questions, understandings should also be linked to competencies and standards. Again, here on the right, select which competency code that this understanding applies to, and then in the middle, fill in your understandings text. Once you finish up with your understandings and fill in all the boxes, then it's time to move on from meaning goals to our acquisition goals. Acquisition goals consist of the factual knowledge and skills that you want your students to be proficient in by the end of the unit. In order for your students to grasp the understandings, answer the essential questions, and meet your transfer goals, they must first develop these acquisition goals. And these goals are split into two different sections. First, we have knowledge goals. This consists of the facts that you want your students to learn. This could be such things as knowing the main causes of the Civil War or knowing what a quadratic equation is. Alternatively, there are also skills. Much like knowledge goals, these are skills that you want your students to be familiar with by the end of the unit. This could be how to solve specific equations, how to write a 5-paragraph essay, etc. These don't have to be academic goals either. They could be skills involving making a PowerPoint or using a particular software, and other skills that can be necessary outside of the classroom in the marketplace. Remember, also with knowledge and skill goals, there are still competencies that need to be connected to each goal. And much like the previous goals, you still should fill in your text in the middle. And that's it for stage 1. If you'll move on to the next video, we'll be able to cover stage 2.